Hello, and welcome to the 44th episode of Course Place. I'm so glad you've chosen to join me for today's conversation. In today's episode, I'll be sharing a list of places or sites that I think would be absolutely incredible to travel to someday and why. As always, if you like what you hear, please leave a review and/or comments, follow my podcast, and tell your friends. Also, please follow the podcast page I've made on Facebook. If you'd like to contact me via email instead of a Facebook message, you can email me at corachin@mailbox.org. If you are new here, welcome. I'm your host, Cora, and I am so excited to have you on this journey with me. Today, I want to share my list of places I would love to travel to someday and why I would choose those specific places. The way this will work is I will say the name of the place, and then I will say why I chose that place. I might even add places I have been to before. I don't have a specific order to these places and which one I would want to visit first, though. I might also share more reasons about some places than I will about others. That's not because I care about them more than others, it's just because I maybe already had it in my mind, so I had at least a little bit of an idea as far as a reason why I would go to a specific place. Some places I will list are in the US, and some are out of the country. However, I am super excited to share this list with you. If you would like to, please feel free to send me a list of places you would like to go to someday. I would love to see your lists. Now that we have all of those things out of the way, let's dive into the list. The first place I want to talk about is Paris, France. At one point in my life, one of my biggest dreams was to go to Paris. I think I would say that is still a dream of mine, even as I record this, but maybe a little smaller than it was when I was younger. I used to learn French a little bit as a hobby, but I haven't worked on it for at least a few years as of the recording of this episode. Back to what I just said about French macaroons a minute ago. I actually tried making them with my grandma one time, but the filling didn't turn out quite right, so we had to use hot fudge instead. They still turned out yummy, and I think it would be really fun to try making them again someday. Maybe even with different flavors, like strawberry, chocolate, maybe peppermint, or anything like that. The second place I think would be fun to visit would be Tennessee, but specifically Nashville. Nashville is on my list because music is one of my favorite things, and I know that Nashville has a lot of music and/or concerts. Seeing other parts of Tennessee might be fun too. The third place I would like to go at some point in my life is Seattle, Washington. I was there once in 2023, but I didn't leave the airport because I was only in Seattle for a short layover on the way to Montana to visit family. I think it would be fun to get to explore Seattle, even getting to explore the Seattle airport too. The Space Needle would be so cool to see. The fourth place is New York City. That sounds like a fun place to visit. I think it would be so cool to get to see the different stores there and explore the city. I might be more of a country kind of girl, but I also think cities are really cool too. Big cities are so interesting. The fourth place is Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls sounds like such a cool and beautiful place. Waterfalls are so beautiful to me. When I was in Montana visiting family one time, we actually went to see some smaller waterfalls, and those were really fun and pretty to see. The fifth place would be to just about anywhere with mountains, including Montana, of course. I love mountains, and I think they are just absolutely incredible. I love the mountains of Montana, and I always find it hard to leave them. It's also hard to leave the people of Montana as well, meaning my family out there. I think my 2021 visit to Montana was my first real experience around mountains, but since that trip, the mountains there have a special place in my heart. I came up with a saying on I think my 2024 visit, and I like it. I can't remember it word for word, but I think it was something like, you can take the girl out of Montana, but you can't take Montana out of the girl. And to me, I think that phrase means I can physically not be in Montana, and even if I am not physically in Montana, it can still be a part of my thoughts and something I keep in mind in my special memories forever. The sixth place is the summer that I could see a ton of stars. I have seen some stars, but not very many. I think it would be so cool to see stars everywhere I look in the sky. Also, to see the northern lights would be really pretty too. I haven't really seen the northern lights before other than in pictures, so I think it would be incredible to see that someday. My family once tried to go see the northern lights fairly recently as of the recording of this episode, but they weren't quite as bright. We could kind of see them, but they weren't really bright. I think another place that would be fun would be to go to Hawaii or something like that. I like the beach sometimes. As far as what I would want to do there, I would probably want to see sunrises and sunsets on the beach. I have seen amazing pictures of beach sunrises and sunsets before, but to be able to experience them in person, in real life, would be so beautiful. Something else that would be fun to see is California, at least major cities there and the beach. Looking around in stores there would be fun too. I also want to see the Golden Gate Bridge someday. Maybe even going to Legoland or Disneyland could be exciting things to do in California. Italy sounds like a cool place to visit and to try real, authentic Italian food like spaghetti, breadsticks, and that kind of thing. It might be fun to try new foods there too. Seeing the sights and doing some tourist activities would be interesting as well. Getting to see the areas where they filmed Sound of Music would be a blast. I love that movie, and I hope that maybe someday I can see where they filmed some of the scenes from the movie. I haven't seen Mount Rushmore before, as far as I know, so I eventually want to see that as well. I think that would be a really fun experience to have. Another place that I think would be fun to see is the Four Corners, where 4 states all meet. It would be very cool, yet very strange, to stand in 4 states all at the same time. I haven't done that before, but it sounds like a really cool experience, and I hope I get to do that someday. I think it could also be fun to get to see the Grand Canyon and the beauty of that. I mean, I'm not really super big into hiking in general, but it would still be nice to be able to see that someday. I, of course, want to go back out to Montana to visit family and also be surrounded by mountains again. I definitely miss Montana when I'm not there. The environment out there makes me feel relaxed, happy, and it also helps me to be able to not feel as much stress. There's just something about Montana that from the first time I went out there in 2021, it has stolen a big piece of my heart. With each visit out there that I have had so far, as of the recording of this episode, the piece of my heart that Montana has stolen increases in size. I think that's because I get more and more attached to it the more times I am out there and the longer I'm out there. I think it also increases because of my love for Montana, and each visit makes my love for Montana grow and grow and grow. Kentucky is definitely on the list of places to someday return to so I can visit friends I have there, but it would also be fun to see some fun sights too. There are a couple of places in northern Kentucky that I have been to before, but would absolutely love to go back someday. One is the Ark Encounter, and one is the Creation Museum. I definitely recommend trying to plan a trip there. They are both amazing places. I definitely want to visit friends that I have there that I don't see very frequently. I live a little ways away from them, so I don't usually get very many chances to see them, unfortunately, due to how far away I am from them. Cincinnati, Ohio would be a fun place to explore at some point in my life as well. Probably other places in Ohio too, but Cincinnati is what immediately comes to mind for me. I do know at least a couple of people who live in Ohio that I haven't seen in a while, and it would also be good to see them as well. I honestly have a lot of states that I haven't gotten to visit so far, as of the recording of this episode, that is, or that I haven't been to in long enough that I don't remember going to. I also eventually want to make it to all 50 states if I can, and even go back to some of the states I have visited in the past at some point in my life. If I had to pick a favorite state that I've visited so far, I think I would have to say either Kentucky or Montana. However, I also enjoyed visiting North Dakota, which I mentioned in episode 42, but I was only there for a couple of days before heading on to Montana with my grandparents. I have been to Michigan a couple of times as well. I know I went a couple of times with my old youth group for a day each time because we went to the dunes just past the Indiana and Michigan border. Wisconsin is also fun to visit too, specifically the Wisconsin Dells area, but my dad and I also went camping one time a couple of hours from the Wisconsin-Michigan border when I was younger, and that was fun. I remember that it was nice for 2 days, it rained for 2 days, and then it snowed for 2 days. My dad and I also got to hang out with some friends that week, and it was great. I remember some really delicious potatoes my dad made. He also made some completely amazing hot chocolate too on that trip. I don't remember everything else we made or ate that week though. The two things that have stayed in my mind are the potatoes and the hot chocolate. I remember also taking a lot of pictures on that trip. I haven't been camping very many times, but that is pretty much the only time I do remember going camping. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please follow, leave a comment, and a review of my podcast if you haven't already, and please follow my podcast page on Facebook so you never miss an update. If you have any verses you'd like me to read on a future episode, or if you have any topics you'd like me to talk about, you can email me at corachin@mailbox.org, send me a message on my podcast page on Facebook, which is linked in the show notes, and I will get back to you when I can. Hope you tune in next week for the 45th episode.